start today's intervention on the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and we are very lucky to not only hold this event and this webinar under the auspices of Copair, but also with the due patronage of the President Amna Malik. We are also very lucky that on the eve of the SCO conference, we have got three distinguished panelists with us today who not only understand the structure of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but also would be putting a great light in terms of what were the milestones which were achieved in this SCO summit. Most importantly, what are the frameworks which are available, because this is the first summit which President Xi Jinping has attended outside of China after COVID-19. Secondly, what are the possibilities of a shared future when we are talking about a global outreach program? So I think in the order of things, I will start first with General Khalid Naim Lodi, who is the former Minister for Defense as well as Secretary of Defense, and has been one of the key, I would say, actors who has not only looked at Pakistan's foreign policy options, but also looked at Pakistan's interventions with the SCO countries. So without further ado, I will request General Khalid Naim Lodi to please make his intervention. And I'd also be grateful if you make this intervention for 7 to 8 minutes so that we have more time for questions to be taken in.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Copair, for arranging this webinar. And I think this discussion tonight will clarify many things. One thing we must understand that SCO is no replacement for Warsaw Pact, or is not compatible to NATO. It is an organization which is more into economic cooperation, coordination, political coordination, and inclusivity, and all the peaceful things that we normally talk about in the relationship of countries. Presently, there are 8 members, and within these members, there are certain, for example, India is a member, which we all know that what sort of relations they have with China and Pakistan. Pakistan is a member. This was the, I think, 22nd summit, although this is the 20th year that this organization is existing, but this was the 22nd top conference which took place. And as usual, they have talked about again cooperation, economic cooperation, inclusivity, and all that. But this time it is more significant because of this war which is going on. We understand between Russia and the Western allies. Basically, although Ukraine is facing all the brunt, because this is the normal American way that they do not fight the war initially. They make the sides weak, and they only physically intervene once they feel that now is the time to do it. If we look at World War I, we look at World War II, this is how they come. But actually, a lot of fuel is being added in the arena, and all the brunt is being faced by Ukraine. Although we are a little surprised that what was the strategy of Russians. I mean, as a military man, I've not really understood that why have they taken so long, and what are their actual objectives and all that. But on the sideline, what we see is, and of course, SCO becomes important in this context, that I think the Russians, all the limitations which were placed on Russia, economic sanctions and all that, it seems that they are not very effective. And probably this is one big, you can say, effect of Ukraine war, that a very big thing has been tested, that if America and the West, they really want to totally sanction a country like Russia, or later on we also know that they will also tinker with China. So what can happen? So I don't know why it has not come up in the. I'm not really aware of the total, the thing which has come out of this 2 days summit. But actual thing which should be there is the economic system which is prevailing in the world. How to circumvent that, or how to get out of that, or at least try to have a smaller thing. Of course, we do know that there have been certain agreements of currency swaps within these countries, the SCO countries, and some countries have also agreed to pay each other in local currencies, which is one big step. But whether the hegemony of the dollar has actually been they're confronted or not, that is not very clear. I think it will take some time before something of that sort happens, because America is very sensitive to that. And I do not know whether, although the China and Russia says that their friendship is limitless, and but they have never talked about military cooperation, some organization, which can balance out NATO or something, that we have not seen. Although Chinese, we all know that they do not want war, but as they say that you may not be interested in war, but war may be interested in you. So if the American strategists, if they have decided to engage China and Russia at a time of their own choosing, and not that choosing of the China, and they've already done that with Russia. We all know that how Russia was nearly compelled to come into this campaign, and they've also tried. We all know that by sending their senators and even Pelosi Saiba to Taiwan, again, touching the Chinese red lines. But Chinese have not fallen in that trap, not so far. We cannot say whether this will not happen in future also. So I think we are passing through very interesting times where this competition of great power has gone into a very critical phase, where it will be very clear, I think in my own assessment, 1 to 2 years, whether Americans succeed in enticing China into some sort of conflict, or China succeeds in avoiding that conflict for another 5 to 10 years, at least 10 years, which they think. So that has to be seen. And how this SCO evolves in future to counterweight NATO, which actually is a military alliance, and not only remains, economic alliance and political alliance, as you can see. And also it will be interesting to see that the fault lines within SCO, countries like, as I initially said, India, China, and India, Pakistan, how do they, manage their presence and manage their things inside within SCO? In the end, I would only say that, okay, SCO may not turn into a military thing. It would be good, for the entire region, but at least they should evolve some mechanism of resolving the issues of the members within SCO. For example, whatever problems Pakistan and India have, whatever problems China and India have, and other countries, that needs to be seen. And also we'll have to wait that once Iran also joins, which is on the sidelines, then what difference it brings once it joins NATO. So this is what I had to say. Thank you very much. Rest I'll leave it to the question and answer sessions.
I said thank you so much, Khalid Naim Lotaf, for giving very interesting points. Now I will draw our attention to another illustrious speaker who will be joining us in this webinar, who has got an outstanding career in the Foreign Office, Mr. Azaz Chaudhry Sahab, who has been Pakistan's former Foreign Secretary and has also been Pakistan's ambassador to the United States, and is currently the Director General for the Institute of Strategic Studies, Islamabad. Ambassador, you have also been a very keen observer of the SCO and in terms of how it has evolved and Pakistan's contributions within this framework. So the two questions I would like to pose to you would be, one, how do you see the SCO emerging as a regional alternate to the regional security issues which this region faces, one? And number two, whether or not the politico-economic cooperation can actually pave the way for something much more substantial. And last but not least, how do you see India, Pakistan factor into this, and China, Russia taking the lead in the SCO?
All right. Let me start by sharing with you my own assessment about SCO and its present and future in my own view. But Before I do that, let me thank Center for Pakistan and International Relations, Copair, and its president, Amina Malik, and the moderator of this session, Dr. Maria Sultan, and fellow panelists. My sense is that this organization is still in its formative phase, and it will assume greater importance in times to come. I also see three particular trends in this organization. I notice that its membership is expanding gradually in a measured pace. Apart from Central Asians, Russia and China, Pakistan and India were invited a few years ago and became members. And now we can see that Turkey is also taking interest. They were invited as special guests along with Azerbaijan and Armenia. And we also saw Iran also joining in along with a few other states like Mongolia, Belarus as observer states. This expansion of circle is within the Eurasian landmass. And we can see that some of these states will play a great deal of part in the peace and progress of Asia in this very century. The second trend that I see in respect of SCO is that its areas, the thematic areas, are being expanded quite rapidly. For instance, in this particular summit, they issued a number of joint statements, 4 of them, one on climate change, the other on food security, third on energy security, and also maintaining cooperation for international supply chains. Then we also saw 4 new agreements, one on tourism, on trade in services, and on museum matters, and also on plant quarantine. So a number of areas, apart from counterterrorism, economic cooperation, regional integration, which has been already there, I see a gradual expansion of the thematic area of work of this organization. So geographical expansion in a measured pace, and also the thematic expansion rather exponential. The third element of today's SCO is that it is beginning to assert its presence and is issuing notable signals. For example, in this particular summit, a particular joint statement, particular term was used called that these member states would like to build a new type of international relations, a new type of international relations. They stopped short of saying a new international order, a new type of international relations. And in that context, they identified 4 elements which should be the core of that new type of interstate relations. One is that the fact that there is a multipolarity now. It's not a bipolar world, nor would they want to see US and China as the 2 polar points, but it's a bipolar, a multipolar world. Second, it is an interconnected world. And third, informatization, that term has been used, which basically means that to what extent a country or its economy is using information technology. And the fourth was digitization, sort of connected to that informatization. So these are very notable, profound trends that, in my view, are now emerging from today's SCO. Pakistan, of course, participated, but when I read Pakistan's statement, it wasn't, it was focused mainly on traditional areas of Afghanistan, counterterrorism, floods, flood relief, etc. There were 3 questions that, when I was reading this joint statement, preparing for today's program, 3 questions emerged in my mind, and we can dwell on them more when we open the question answer session. First question that comes to my mind is that this reference that I saw of new type of international relations, how will this new type of international relations be built? There is yet no strategy, there is yet no plans, nor was there any indication, nor a task force was made. So my own understanding is that this is an initial signal that was sent out that rather than a world dominated by confrontation or US imposed China containment, we would like to have a slightly different kind of international relations, starting with SCO region, but you will see that this would generate considerable debate in the thought circles of the West. The second question that came to my mind after reading this joint statement was that it gave a feeling of the emergence of an anti-Western group or bloc. It didn't say so because it particularly mentioned that we don't want bloc politics, but we could see that the overall tone was quite anti-Western. But we don't see this group yet ready to take on some of the institutions and instruments that the West had created to govern the whole world. For example, the issues of financial dilemmas is still there. There are a few financial instruments like AIIB has been created, but SCO bank is not there. Similarly, many other instruments would still be required. And my sense is that even SCO Development Fund has not yet been developed. So my sense is that, and General Lodi spoke about currency, use of currency. There was an indication that steps will be initiated for trade within the region using the local currency. So indications are there, but instruments once again are not in place. The third element, in my view, which will require debate is the placement and role of India. Because India, on the one hand, is quite close to Western, new alliances, informal alliances like Quad, and also bilaterally with the United States, it's quite aligned. But at the same time, India has signed on to this statement. So, will India be a part of an anti-China coalition, or will it be part of an anti-Western coalition? We don't know yet, because India is trying to run with the hare, hunt with the hound. We don't know yet what role India will play. Of course, there are bilateral questions with Pakistan too, but I'm talking about the future of history. So three main signals and three main questions have arisen, which I've just indicated to you, but I'll be very happy to elaborate on any particular aspect of the points that I made. Now, let me address some of your questions that you raised. You mentioned that SCO is emerging as a new international organization, which is increasing its international standing and weight. True. I agree with that. It surely is, but its time has not yet come. I think it is still in the formative phase. We still have to wait, and I think the way the Chinese are, they are still taking their time on it. You also mentioned how would India, Pakistan, and China, Russia equations figure in. You see, the world now is moving in a phase where the countries are relating to each other through issues-based alliances. It could always be a possibility for Pakistan to be part of an alliance where it is friendly with countries B and C, and also an alliance where it is not friendly with countries B and C. So issue-based alliances will always be there, and that probably is a space that SCO will have to create to live with the competition amongst the member states of SCO itself. That notwithstanding, I would say that there are quite a few areas of cooperation for India, China, India, Pakistan, as well as other member states. And my sense is that when they talk of climate change, especially a special joint statement, food security, energy security, supply chains, all this is a very clear signal that these are the areas where SCO member states will have a greater zone of comfort to cooperate with each other. I'll stop here at this, and then we'll be ready to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Now I will move to our third speaker, who is equally, I would say, not only recognized, but has contributed greatly to Pakistan's Foreign Office and Pakistan's missions abroad. He is currently our ambassador in Iran, Mr. Asif Durrani. I would like to begin my interventionist question for you, that how do you see Iran's participation in the SCO process, one? And number two, how would you figure it out with regards to the sanctions approach? The countries which have faced sanctions, it seems that while there is a commonality of interest between regional countries, another thing which is common between these countries is also that they are the most sanctioned countries from the Western side. So do you think that this is going to have an impact in terms of how Iran, Russia, China benefit from this framework or this organization? One. Number two, what will be the possible collaboration in Afghanistan, trying to benefit from your long-term experience in Afghanistan? Whether or not there is going to be anything new when we are looking at the JCPOA and the new terms of engagement, which might be in the offering for Iran. So Ambassador Durrani, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm really grateful to Center for Pakistan and International Relations, Copair, and to Madam Amna for holding such an important webinar. And especially the SCO summit, which has just concluded. Coming back to the theme, I think already General Lodi has given us a tour de horizon of the emerging trends vis-a-vis the security aspects are concerned. Ambassador Azad Chaudhry has, in fact, thoroughly postmortem and analyzed the whole scenario with regard to the SCO summit. And I will touch upon some aspects which, in fact, have already been touched, but I think let me also chip in. And that is the foremost importance which SCO gives is the multipolarity and its multilateralism, which in fact has suffered a lot of harm in the previous American administrations. The American unilateralism, in fact, it began with the 9/11 and onwards, how they behaved, and it was on its zenith when you saw with the Trump, in fact, going all his way and on his way. So the first casualty was JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, from which Trump pulled out. And it was also a setback to disarmament machinery, which is already paralyzed. But the main question is that now the world is asking the credibility of entering into multilateral agreements if one of the parties, which is also the only superpower in the world, if it backs out and it pulls out from the agreement. And this is not the first time. American history is very much there. They, in fact, signed CTBT, but they did not ratify it. They, in fact, signed International Criminal Court, ICC's charter, but they unsigned it because Congress did not allow and did not ratify. So if with this background in mind, and then you look at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization coming into being in 2001, and now in its 22nd year, you see it has come a long way and it has been moving gradually. So the overall crux, when you look at the joint statement, is also very instructive. And in fact, it not only emphasizes on multilateralism, it has focused in so many paragraphs on terrorism issue. In fact, those paragraphs are repeated one, which you see in the multilateral fora, in the UN and all that. You have seen those languages, which is not something new, whether it is extremism, separatism, or so-called violent extremism. So those languages are the same. So I'm not surprised, but it is a continuation and it's a reiteration. When you talk about, yes, the main thing is regional cooperation, and the Samarkand declaration is very specific about South Asia and Central Asia connectivity. And I think this also interests us. In fact, it is directly of our interest to which we have to watch it. And in that respect, how we can play out this bridge role. I have my skepticism, especially if India is out of the equation in South Asia, Central Asia, talk of making a bridge, then I think South Asia cannot be connected with Central Asia, because India is neighbor to all the South Asian countries. Pakistan is, except for Afghanistan and India, is not a neighbor to other South Asian countries. So hence, we can claim that yes, we are a bridge, but we actually, in actual practice, we are not. And this will continue till the time there's some ice breaking between Pakistan and India, which one cannot see for the time being. But yes, you can hope against hope, because next year the summit will take place in New Delhi, almost after 1 year. We don't know what will happen. What will happen here in Pakistan about the elections, next elections, and how New Delhi is going to behave at that point of time. So this is something we have to look at it when we are seeing it from the SCO perspective. SCO is not in a confrontationist mode, and the credit goes to Chinese because they are very cautious. They have not even till date, they have not issued any statement which may fall in the category of provocation, despite the fact that Americans, especially Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, Americans were quite provocative. Yes, Chinese did express their firm opinion about the status of Taiwan, about Indo-Pacific region, but they are not in a confrontationist mode. I mean, Chinese, and there's a strong, I think, imprint of the Chinese influence on SCO as well, and its decision-making process as well. So Russians are also, in fact, when it comes to SCO, it is basically China which has the upper hand, not in so many words, but I think Chinese influence is very much visible, whether it is in the Central Asian states, Russia, or for that matter, even say Pakistan. And, I think India will also be, they'll fall in line, which is why that Indians, despite having had the clashes 2 years ago at Galwan Valley, they continued. Initially, they imposed sanctions against China, but they had to withdraw it. And now, 2 years ago, their trade was $90 billion. Now it has touched almost $125 billion, which means that Indians have also realized that a confrontationist policy cannot give you dividends. In fact, it is harmful to a country's own national security as well as overall prosperity. India is now, in fact, has joined a different league. The disparity between Pakistan and India is almost 10 times, whether it is in defense, whether it's in or whether it's in their economies. So you have to be mindful of that as well. And When coming to the Ukrainian crisis, its imprint could be seen in an indirect manner, in which the interfering the interference from the West, not in so many ways, but it is quite visible, and it also, in fact, in a way, a message to the rest of the world that how Shanghai Cooperation Organization and its members, how they are behaving, and they want to behave, and they want to conduct the international politics. Let me come to your question. Iran's participation in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Iranians are very keen. When I was there, they are still an observer. They have yet to become full member, but the Iranians are very, because of the strategic reasons. It's now China is Iran's largest trading partner, followed by Russia. Iran's defense equipment comes from China and Russia, mostly from Russia as well as, and then Iran's R&D in the defense sector is also, there's a close cooperation. Then Chinese agreement of $400 billion investment in China, in Iran, mostly in the energy sector, is also quite instructive. China has not subscribed to the American sanctions imposed on Iran after the withdrawal from JCPOA. So this is also, in a way, a clear message to the Americans and their allies that if they do not subscribe, and China has said it in so many words that they don't subscribe to the sanctions imposed by individual countries. Yes, they were part of the UN sanctions till 2000, which were in fact lapsed in October 2000, when China and Russia did not support the extension of those sanctions. So Iran's participation, in fact, would be important. And since, and then you should also see that these immediate members, which are full members, they are contiguous to each other. So it's a big landmass. So geographically, actually, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, if tomorrow it wants to turn itself into a, say, military alliance, so geographically, it can split the whole world, the globe, east to west. So you can see its importance. And then secondly, it's almost 40% of the world population and 30% of the world GDP. So if that is the reason, so Iran, if joins, so I think it would be very important. And then regarding sanctions, sanctions have not worked. Iran is under pressure, but Iran has found many ways to do business. They have entered into currency swap agreements with China, with Russia, even with India. And in 4 years ago, they were having a currency swap agreement with Japan and South Korea as well. But mostly with China and Russia, they have done it. So one aspect of the doing business, or say giving preference to the local currencies, is actually it's the gradually SCO would be moving towards currency swap. And let's see how it turns out in that case. So with regard to Iran, Russia, China, yes, they are almost on the same page, especially when you look at the Syrian crisis. Russians were very much with them. They were aligned with them. And they, in fact, retrieved the situation for Iran. And Iran, in fact, is quite well entrenched, despite the fact that Israelis have been attacking Iranian positions, as there have been many casualties Iran had to suffer. So, with regard to Afghanistan, Afghanistan, if you look at it, it is in fact, it is not announced in so many words, but if you look at the present situation, almost all immediate neighbors of Afghanistan, either they are permanent member or they are observers. They agreed that they will not recognize Afghan regime, Taliban regime, till a consensus is developed. And and that is still holding. So in that respect, when you talk about Afghanistan, I think it is also a message to Afghanistan that and one important aspect which I must highlight is that so far it is holding, and that is that all immediate neighbors of Afghanistan, they have stopped playing favorites. Iranians are not supporting the Shia elements there like they were doing it previously. Same is the case with Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, strictly by Russians, telling them that please don't interfere, despite the fact that Ahmad Shah Massoud's son and some of the Panjshiri people, ex-Panjshiri people, they are taking refuge in Tajikistan. Tajikistan had initially issued some statements against the Taliban, but since then there is a silence, which shows that there's some kind of a modus vivendi has been evolved that they will keep silence. So regarding JCPOA, I think the Americans are trying because they have now tasted their own medicine. They thought, almost 7 million barrel production of Russia. I'm talking about the oil. And that has suffered, although not all the Russian production. There's no total boycott because China continues to buy it, India continues to buy it. Even Saudis are buying and selling it on expensive with more prices. So on with regard to JCPOA, Americans want to come back to that, and they would also be lenient towards Iranian oil coming to the market, including also Venezuelan oil. But I think Iranians are smart enough. They know, and when it comes to their regional strategic preferences, so they will not go against Russia or China. So I'll stop here. If there are questions, then I'll be too happy to respond to them. Thank you so much.
I think that was very succinct in terms of Iran's aspirations, as well in terms of how global politics may unfold in this region. We are joined also by Amna Malik. Amna, I was just wondering if you'd like to make an intervention, one, and if not, I would just like to leave one question for everyone. That's after Amna speaks. That is, how do you actually see the SCO actually becoming a multilateral fora which can generate economic, political, and military security? Ambassador Azaz had very clearly stated that it's there, but it's not there yet. So the real question is that, is the world really ready for a bipolar world? If not, what is the future of multilateralism?
Maya, thank you, Dr. Maria. You're always very kind, and thank you very much for moderating this session, and get well soon. And thank you very much, Honorable Azaz Chaudhry Saab, Asif Durrani Saab, General Naeem Lodi Saab. Thank you very much for joining us. I believe today this session is very important, and I'm thankful that you all participated so well, and enlightened all of us about this current summit which just held recently. We also received a delegation from SCO member countries. They were the research associates, and they are also listening all important highlights of the event. First I would like to tell you about Copair. Most of all of you know about it, but our focus is that how to develop friendly relations with SCO member countries, and we developed Friends of SCO, and before that we also worked with, and I myself attended SCO summit earlier in Kyrgyzstan, and I was also invited this time, but unfortunately due to my personal commitments I was unable to go there. But my team was there, and that held in Samarkand, and there were series of activities, MOUs, and things went over there. And I agreed with Azaz Chaudhry Saab that they are moving gradually. It is a gradual process, and their focus is on social economic improvement and development. And gradually they are increasing the areas of connectivity and collaborations like tourism. And I also agree that new members are also interested, like this time Egypt and Qatar were given a special status, granting SCO dialogue partner status. So this is also that they are encouraging new members to come ahead. Then General Khalid Lodi mentioned well that this is an important question, that how this one of the largest regional organization from geographical perspective, because it is quite big. So how it can play its role in ecosystem, because right now, you know, capitalism is at threat. There are populist movement all over the world. And we can see that how information technology has an impact on politics and other parts of economy and things like that. So how it is going to play its role? No doubt, dollar is devaluing, and most of these Central Asian republics who are the members of SCO, they are having serious economic issues regarding the exchange of trade with dollar. So this is also something very important to know and work on it, that the currency, which currency they are going to swap. Are they going to come up with some other idea, like some barter trade with some other items which they used to do it in the past, or they are coming up with some kind of a currency like a digital asset, or they can use, like earlier it was also proposed, and we also wrote an research paper on it, that gemstone of Pakistan can be also utilized as a barter trade, like we are having the reservoirs of ruby, emerald. So I think there was a very high level Malaysian delegation which visited Pakistan, and they were interested, and they were Central Asian countries and Turkish firms who were interested to initiate this thing. Finally, General Asif Durrani mentioned quite well that I feel that most of the members of uh, these members of Shanghai Cooperation, they are interested in this kind of connectivity. They are interested in this connectivity because whenever we attend their any of the roundtable international conference, their main emphasis is on connectivity from east to west. And Belt and Road Initiative is also based on this connectivity from east to west. And Central Asian countries can get the real benefit from other countries if they are connected. And I believe that they are also interested that there should be some development in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, they discussed in most of their summits, and they are interested that if there is a peace in Afghanistan, there will be a peace in the region, and this connectivity can only prevail if there is a peace in the region. Finally, my observation is that yes, it is an economic organization and a social organization, but it requires to develop its SCO bank so that they can work on the humanitarian ground. Here, it was such a big summit, but they are unable to discuss or manage or talk or how they can support this flood crisis going on in Pakistan. That was also a very important issue. And we have to keep in mind that next year, India is going to take the presidency of SCO, and how then Pakistan is going to play its role. What is going to be the position of Pakistan among the SCO member countries. So finally, I thank Dr. Maria Sultan, my worthy honorable speakers, and my chairman, Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, who is also here. Thank you very much, sir, for all giving time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amna. I'll just make the last intervention, request everyone if they would like to say, make any last interventions, that would be fine. I'll also appreciate if everybody makes this intervention.
Also, first of all, just in a lighter note that while you, Amna Sahaba, you said General Durrani, so he was smiling. अगर हालात नॉर्मल होते तो वो इस पर इतराज ना करते, लेकिन आजकल जर्नैलों के साथ जो हो रहा है, he must be having an objection to this के भी. So as we know, the meaning of security has expanded, and nowadays once we talk of security, does not mean battles and wars and tanks and guns. It also means food security, and especially energy security, which Pakistan desires a lot. So I would suggest that Pakistan is lucky that all the three ascending powers of the world, China, Russia, and India, are there in SCO, and Pakistan is a member of that SCO. it will be good for Pakistan that if we can, make sure that our energy security and food security is taken care of, from within this platform by some agreements or whatever it is. And one thing which I would like to add is that about Afghanistan, which is so important to all of us, the SCO members, because as my friends were saying that all the countries surrounding Afghanistan, they are nearly members of SCO. Instead of having an international approach and getting pressure from the international demands that why are they not doing this and why are they not doing that, I think SCO's approach should be adopted, and all SCO members should put their weight and also impress on the Afghan government that what all they need to do. And I think collectively they should recognize Afghanistan and start their economic activities there. And because that will actually put the real pressure on the Afghans that what they need to do, it should be done. And not only that, we should be demanding from Afghanistan that do this and do that. We must help Afghanistan in doing that. For example, in women education, if they are short of women lecturers or professors, SCO members should provide those female professors in their universities and colleges. So this, excuse which they are making, it can be overcome. So I would say that Pakistan should take full advantage, must address its security concerns and security concerns. I'm saying energy security and food security more than other things. And also the peace in Afghanistan should be a priority for the SCO members, and Pakistan must spearhead that push. Thank you.
May I request Ambassador Azaz Chaudhry, if you could make your intervention. There's also one question which has been raised by one of the participants, and that is, what is the actual potential of Pakistan in the SCO, and whether or not it is more in terms of what we expect from the SCO or what we can contribute. What is the real appreciation of the geopolitics of Pakistan in this emerging framework?
All right. Before that, the earlier question that you raised on future of multilateralism, I think warrants a comment. My sense is that the trends that United States is spearheading are marginalizing multilateralism. United Nations already is quite irrelevant in many of the conflicts around the world. We also see unilateralism rising, and United States had taken the lead even in that unilateralism. We see also other global norms weakening. We see xenophobia, Islamophobia rising, and therefore multilateralism, as was conceived after the Second World War, is certainly weakening. But we also see a trend from within the SCO, which want to retain multilateralism as a means for interdependence, for connectivity, and I give you one element of the joint statement in which they said that the member states would like to develop connectivity and create efficient economic and transport corridors. Economic and transport corridors. That would be all across, including between South Asia and Central Asia. But it also gave a warning kind of thing to the Western community that we might design a roadmap for gradual increase, and I'm using the words used in the statement, for gradual increase in the share of national currencies in mutual settlements of SCO member states. Now, if this were to be implemented at some stage, I can see phenomenal changes in the international financial order and could also undermine the hegemony of US dollar. So you can see very clearly that there were signals that multilateralism should remain relevant, because interdependence is the way to go. But if West is not ready to come on board to sustain the very institutions it had created, there will be an alternative in the SCO world. Your second question about Pakistan and SCO, of course, Pakistan should attach highest importance to this organization. We are in this very region. And China is a great leader of SCO. Headquarters of SCO is in Beijing. Pakistan has a representative, full-time representative sitting in SCO Secretariat. Pakistan has a lot to gain, but Pakistan will also have to make up its mind on how it approaches connectivity and whether it wants to utilize the benefits that will become available from connectivity and how would it handle. North-south connectivity, we are very clear, but east-west connectivity, we still have issues and difficulties, although we have allowed Afghanistan to one-way transit of goods to India. Now, Indian chairmanship will be a kind of challenge because India, at this moment, Prime Minister Modi does not seem to be in a strategy to co-opt Pakistan in any of their programs. It's a purely Hindutva-driven agenda on which Pakistan really does not fit in. So we will see how India would work as a president. Afghanistan, General Lodi made a comment that perhaps SCO leaders could take a lead. I think regional approach has already started emerging, and the regional countries are already coordinating their position. But whether they are there for recognizing the Taliban regime, I think they are not there. I think there are some countries which feel very strongly within SCO that Taliban will have to walk the first half mile before the rest of the world and the rest of the region walks the other half mile. It may be a chicken and egg story, whether you want to coerce Afghanistan into doing what you want them to do, or you want to incentivize the Taliban into doing what you think you want to do. I think the world has not really made up its mind yet. And so the status quo seems to be coming down hard on Afghanistan.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you
much. I'm just going to ask Rani if you could just make a very small intervention because we're running out of time. And then we would like to conclude today's webinar and also request Ms. Amna Malik if she would like to add some of her concluding remarks. So if you could just make a 2-minute intervention, if there's something you seriously would like to say, and then over to
your question. I'm responding to your question that what is Pakistan's actual potential in the SCO? I think our geography is the actual strength and potential. If you look at all the member states, so in fact, we are now at the central stage. On one hand, you have India, then you have China, and then you have Central Asian states. And then we are actually a bridge, although theoretically we are a bridge between South Asia and Central Asia. But hopefully some ice will break between Pakistan and India. And so in that respect, when you see, so Pakistan has geographically acquired the central place as far as SCO is concerned. So I think this is our potential and this is our strength. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Durrani. Now I'll just request Amna if you would like to make any concluding remarks, and then we can conclude today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Maria. I just want to thank you, all of you. And I believe that SCO is a very important organization with respect to geo-economic and geopolitical position of Pakistan. And I think we need to further carry on certain studies in this regard. And we request all the worthy panelists that we keep on bothering you in this regard, because we need your valuable feedback on the subject. And I think Pakistan needs to play a key role in SCO among the other SCO member states. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador Azaz Chaudhry, Ambassador Durrani, General Lodi, and Ambassador Khalid Mahmood, and Copair team, as well as other participants who have joined us today for this very insightful webinar on the SCO and the future of this organization, not only for regional security, but also for global security. We are certainly hopeful that the SCO will emerge as a regional alternative, not only in terms of economic, political, and non-traditional security for this region, but also in terms of a global security architecture where multilateralism will still remain a workable currency for dealing with international relations. How far this is true or not is yet to be seen. But with this, I would like to thank you all for all your time, your excellent comments, and most importantly for Copair for organizing this very helpful webinar on the SEO and the future of this for this region. Thank you once again to everyone for being with us.